Should you spray herbicides on your pastures to help them be more productive? There's a world of a lot of conversation and even intense debate or argument around the role of herbicides on pastures for livestock producers. I'm Rob from Dowdle Family Farms, and over the last several years we've been on this journey to eliminate as many chemicals on our farm as humanly possible. That includes herbicides, pesticides, and even synthetic fertilizers. Answering the question of whether we should spray our pastures or not really revolves around what kind of agricultural producer we want to be. We try to follow more regenerative type principles, but many others tend to follow more conventional systems. In a conventional system, you may spray your pastures every year to help keep out the weeds. And we do have weeds. Part of the problem with spraying our pastures, though, is that even though we would kill a large portion of our weeds, we also kill a lot of things that are very beneficial to the farm. For example, we have a pretty good stand of legumes, 30 to 40% in some of our pastures, and that 30 to 40% pasture of legumes can add 30 to even 50 or 60 pounds of nitrogen per acre per year. That is a savings of really about $15 to $20 per acre just on nitrogen cost itself. However, dandelion, dock, plantain, and chicory are also really good forbs for cows to eat. It provides a lot of nutrition for them. They don't eat a whole lot of it, but it does have its benefits, and spraying the pastures will also eliminate those weeds as well. Now, we have stopped spraying herbicides on our pastures for a variety of reasons. The first and foremost is the cost of spraying the herbicides on pastures is expensive. The chemical cost alone can range anywhere from $15 to $30 or even $40 per acre, depending on the time of the year that we're spraying the pastures and what's planted around us in other agricultural fields where drift could be an issue. But by spraying those weeds, we'll get a lot of things like our chicory, dock, plantain, and dandelion. Those are weeds that we want in our pastures because they're good nutrient accumulators. They provide good nutrients for the cows. They boost the protein as well, and so the cows do really well on them, and they offer a diversity of soil life too. One of the biggest costs of spraying our pastures with herbicides, though, is that it'll also kill our clovers and other legumes. And our white clovers and some of our hairy vetch that's in our pastures add to the protein of our forage, but they also add nitrogen to the soil to help increase the growth of the pasture. If we spray herbicides on our fields, it'll kill a couple of the weeds, but we'll have to add more nitrogen to the fields because we don't have the legumes fixing nitrogen for the livestock. So because of that, it can add another $20 or $30 of cost to spraying the herbicides on their pastures just in the amount of nitrogen that we have to make up. Another large problem that I think many producers do not consider is their own individual settings. We have 4 dominant weeds on our farm that we try to control more than others. The first is broom sedge. Broom sedge is a native warm season grass. It does not provide any real good nutrition for livestock, even if they do eat it in some of the younger vegetative states, but once it grows taller, they just do not eat it at all. The second weed that we have the most of is cypress weed or dog fennel. It is a broadleaf weed, and herbicides will kill it. The third most common weed that we have is what I call buttercup. It has small yellow flowers, and it mostly grows in real acidic, moist soils that do not drain very well. And then the fourth weed that we have is a little bit of what I call trumpet vine. We have a little bit in this paddock, but mostly it's restricted to just a handful of paddocks throughout the farm. In my mind, one of the greatest reasons, though, of not spraying our pastures is that when it kills the legumes and it kills the forbs like chicory, dandelion, plantain, and dock, the thing that many livestock producers don't think about is depending on what kind of species of grass, they need those other forages to help offset the problems associated with our grasses. In this red field right here, it's about 50 acres of pasture, and my dad planted it years and years ago with fescue. But the endophyte infested fescues can reduce animal performance. The endophyte that's in the fescue will help it become more drought tolerant and also more resistant to insects and diseases. Livestock producers can do several things to help offset that endophyte infested fescue, but one thing is having legumes, and especially things like chicory and plantain can help not just dilute the effects of the fescue but offset those toxic effects of the alkaloid in the toxic infested fescues. So rather than the animals gaining half a pound to 3/4 of a pound per day, many times in a diverse pasture with fescue, livestock can produce 2 or 3 pounds of weight gain per animal per day. The thing that many people do not realize is that spraying pastures can be productive, and depending on what kind of weeds you may have, it may be important for you to spray your pastures occasionally. However, in our situation anyway, it's not worth it because the effects of the endophyte infested fescue are offset by many of the weeds that the cows will eat that are nutritious for them and that they perform really well on. So how do we control the weeds in our pastures? After we graze them, after the fescue goes to seed, we come through and we bush hog the pastures, and what we find is that helps kind of reduce some of the impact of these weeds that we have. So for the last several years, we have not sprayed our pastures, and it might be right for you as well. It may be that you have a different situation and a different setup, and it may be that spraying your pastures with herbicides is more effective for you and your livestock. For us, however, we find that we don't have to do that, and we get really good animal performance out of it. I hope you have a great day. Take care, and we'll talk to you next time.